다 정말라 참. 저 그런 검지 답 그런 검지는 저 자신 그러다 추 니야디 니 다기 춘이 집에서 남지 돌아 변지 선녀 도시어서 니 추니 바디 기회 자와디 되네는 심지 담지 이치도 산제지 고만터베 줄러 도와 주지 시제 어디에다 그런 제와들이 세단 티치도 그런 데스 공ገብ라.
So, good evening to everyone, and I ask you to reset your motivation and arouse altruistic bodhicitta motivation as the refuge and bodhicitta stanza says, Dagi chunyi gibe sonamgi, may through the merit of listening to teaching, may I achieve the state of Buddhahood to be of help to beings, and therefore now you know how to do it, and I'll ask you if you could kindly do it now.
어야 다 먼저 이ring야 된지 최 두지 총한테 그거 야구인 좀 뒤에 가고 공부했어.
Now I'd like you to rejoice, recalling the great fortune that you have today to once again immerse yourself in Dharma.
어야 나도 기신 직다 시에서 따와가는 직다 아 직다 비진 코어로직 차야 그래와 예스처럼 저는 아 짐베 따와 직다 아이버 좀 봤으면 아사 어디 직 배타니에 코디나 만드는 거라서 지주 소외나라네 나나나나 상당히 되대가 능주디 니 나오나 신지 tenla medin jo chirwa na pena chunang dawa daware se dimana shi nga se de khana de me ji tuwe nga we nga ji nga yin the 칸 데미지 가지 요마라 뭐네시나 나세야디 니 풍불라 데네 아 두denjo 쇼신라 데네 두denjo 중화실라 데네 두denjo 잠블링기 니 가란조 미망 뭐지 파덴 추데 와 먼저 다 예윤기 미 신다파지는 남시 코요 치기지 중화기 코드 도즈 상말라 데네 나스니데 도즈라 대화 쇼에 된지 제레미시지게 소소 셈나네 이제 샤오나 쇼게네 나든지 요 말에서 제가 매발라 요갔다와 인자 텐데게 네 다니기 싫어 묘문진들라 직다세 마르진 직다세디 다 다니 치오르 미시지게 다고 듣고 민드 따르 미시지 가란서 뒤균에 쪽데 셈나라 차단디 요레스라
So I think last week we covered the view of a transitory collection, which was mainly the view of transitive collection grasping at I and mine. So whereby when our mind's eye is veiled by this view of a transitory collection, then we believe what appears is real. What appears is the reality or is real. Much as the moon in the water is taken by some naive consciousness to be the moon up in the space. So the appearance of the moon in the water is taken to be the moon up in the space. In the same way, so in the same way, we in our heart of hearts keep on believing that there is an I that is utterly non-dependent. There is an I that is utterly dependent. Why do you think that? Because it appears to be that so. Because it appears that is not dependent on anything else. And because of that appearance, so the mind agrees unquestioningly and believes that I exist non-dependently on anything else, when in reality, I is not at all non-dependent or independent, because there's no I apart from the aggregates. There's no I apart from the four elements. There's no I apart from the weather, the climate, the environment, and everything in the world is dependent phenomenon, dependent existent or dependent phenomenon existing by way of relying on something else. So, however, it is a great ignorance, Dawa means to consider something as existing when it actually doesn't exist, considering the non-existent to be existent leads to believing an inherent I when there has never been inherent I, and the belief or grasping or conception of such an I is the view of transitory recollection or jikta.
니와 따와니와 타다 셰벌라 담몽어서 아니 따바따바당 채바따바서 직신으로
So the
따바따바서
second,
디
no.
아니 학보르따오로 따바따바서 학보르따와 와 베나 만한조 학보르따와스나 아니 야 도따네 퇴바지 요레스 베나 자자 지 연대 미지라 연대 어즈르지 연나야 그래서 가오이나 나디 야고 쉬어져요스야 와 연대 매니지라 연대 야고 요레스라야디 따고따오레 아니 페나 먼저 ngasiadi khana deme da do yore labdi tagwa habor tawa de tagwa tawa ko mewa jilo yo tawa de tagwa tawa sidi habor tawa de ni tagwa tawa bena wada dinde re wa yende me ni jila yende shouji yores wa su na wora jito na ani shouji yores ji ya ji doro ji ta je ni gyumjeri tan je ni be ya go shouji ya ji labdi do dile tagwa tawa habor tawa 어디 딱다서 되라고 그래요.
그실라 때 딱벌다우스는 딱치다 가르를 라다다 딱하다 그러베.
딱벌다우스 데르와서 라다다다가다 데양디 딱베다게 딱데르다 학벌다우스 데르와 학벌다우스.
Now, let's move on to the second afflictive, cognitive cognitive mental affliction, which is extreme view. To present this, we need to present this within the framework of exaggeration and underestimation or underestimation. And the first one is called Takpar Dawa, seeing as permanent. Although the word Takpar is the same word as we use for permanent, and therefore it is Takpar Dawa, which it doesn't mean seeing it as permanent, rather Takpar Dawa. To okay, to view something exaggeratedly, to view something with exaggeration. For example, there is somebody that you like, and they don't have, they don't have necessary qualification, or they don't have necessary qualities, but because you like, and then you sing their praise and saying that the person is highly educated, if the person is really a good, the person is this person has so many good qualities, and therefore exaggerate the true state of affairs or the true state of being of a person. And the same thing, when with regard to I does not exist by itself, independently, non-dependently, but to view I as existing non-dependently is giving attributes to that I which it doesn't have at all, but the mind has blown out of proportion, as it were, whatever little thing the I has, and seeing I as truly non-dependent is an example of exaggerated perception of I. Long.
Yeah, those connected. Tanda kansan se di. Mano kansan wone di midagorwa. Kansan midagwa di mare. Kansan tagbore slavena. Di tagwatawa, tagwatawa. Those connected yor, right?
To put it simply, you could say a person. What is a person? A person is a being, and a person is metakba, means impermanent. But if one holds an idea that the person is not impermanent, rather the person is permanent, that can skewed perception of a person as being prominent when it is improminent. Also.
Chebatawa sayadi, ni yovajila mewatawa dharwa, yovajila mewatawa, lejunde, yola lejunde yomare es lavina, chawangaji yola, chawangaji yomare lavina, di chebatawa resrwa, yovajila mewatawa yundu, lavyundu, di chebatawa, chedalhunga resrwa.
So the second component of extreme view is Dawa. Undervaluing perception, or in other words, to see something to see something as not existent when in fact it does exist. To consider something as non-existent when in reality it is very much existent. For example, karma, law of causality. To think that karma doesn't operate, karma doesn't work, or karma doesn't exist. In the same way, to say that there are no rebirths, reincarnations, when in reality there is reincarnation. So to consider the existent as a non-existent and to deny or reject the existence is called Dawa. Loss.
That tartagi ganzo, that tenda shegin darwa, tenda dekarsana, jigde yorwa, tang kisi ganzo jigda shese marawa, da jigde sumen daji yorwa, ngao sayashi. Jigde sumen dadi kana dome ki rang yawaji yorwa, tila mingne, ani di takwa tawa tang chewa tawa asirwa, yamena takwa tawa, yamena chewa tawa, da jigde sumen dadi, ani kana dome ki takwa re, kana dome ki demba tuwa re, zilawiyondi, ani di takwa chado, takwa tawa chado, lakbo tawa rwa tako, lakbo tawa, demba tuwa sayade, lakbo tawa re, takwa tawa na, lakbo tawa re, jigde sume taati, takwa re sayaro, ya, taadu tuwa re, tende shi tayondi, di, takwa tawa. Chewa tawa la yondi, taa jigde sume taati, lende le tene shuwe, taaji yo maris, ta, le yunde le tene shuwe, taaji yo maris, tayondi, chewa tayo ngorwa, chizan, 이 딱다단 체다 니가 기타 주지 셔요 거다디 타르타세디 간다 직대 수위 다들 민네 아니 그 체주지 그다디 체주 셔요 상상라 퇴바직 다용 상상라 요대 매된 요지래라 비용제 아니 딱다다 체바 상상라 딱보다 상상라 체바 다용디 아니 딜야 타르타시다 타르데 코덴디 데레다라
So now I'm going to give you the actual meaning of extreme view. The meaning of extreme view is this. Jigde sumata. So when self or I, which is conceived of by the view of transitory recollection. In other words, I, which is the object of the view of transitory recollection, is viewed as a phenomenon that is not dependent on anything else, and therefore it exists in and of itself. So that is a reifying aspect of extreme view. Or to consider self, the object of the view of a transitory collection, actually does exist in a real way. That also amounts to a reified notion of that self. Secondly, underestimation or part of extreme view is to consider the self, which is the object of observation or object of the view of transitory recollection, doesn't come into being through the force of a law of cause and effect, or when in reality that self is reborn, comes into being through the power of karma. But to say that the object of the view of the transitory collections, that self doesn't exist through the force of a karma, and that is the opposite of reification, which is underestimating the reality of self.
어디 칠레도 어디 동의도야라다 파르드주니 독슈지레다 봐. 거 가서는 상상라 학부다도 요로 상상라 체바다요인데 네 동의데 우메다워서데 딱다다 체다니가 그 찾는데 땡 종세 땡사와디 아니 덴버트가 딱다데 파케도 요로 땡신이 되게 딱다데 종세와 되게 다 덴버트와 매장 매고마레 땡네 중에 최 레준데도 요레 라윈데 체다세도 오라 땡종 그래서 우메람디 게알라다 파드 주니게 두슈데 다 지데 송한테 답에 코게 여와지 체제 탁부서셔고 다 다다데 저도다 우메랑라 슈야라 다 바제 치슈직 다와직 다 두즈차고 요레스라
Now the function of extreme view. The function of extreme view is extremely detrimental to gauging or to developing the middle way part of Madhyamika view. The view of Madhyamika, which is free from two extremes of reification and annihilation or underestimation. And when so the extreme, as I have just pointed out to you, the extreme view has two components, reification and annihilation. And when the self, the object of negation, so the object of the view of transitory collection is reified, it really it really prevents developing the middle way perception. Or when the object of the view of transitory collection is viewed as utterly non-existent, therefore annihilated, that too prevents the development of the middle way philosophy. When the middle way says things, for example, I exist, then the Jung means I arises dependently. I, or phenomenon, I, phenomenon arises dependently. The word dependently cancels or rules out I existing non-dependently in a reified way. And the second syllable of the word I arise, although I doesn't exist truly, that doesn't mean it doesn't exist at all. It arises in a dependent way. It's arising dependently. It's arising negates total annihilation of I. So what I want to stress is the function of extreme view is to block the development of the Madhyamika view. Lost.
당저 네가둘라 안다 땡중세야 되겠다 우메람세 우마세야 돼 네 딱과당 딱다당 체더니기 탈레 태워라 딱바 따와 체바 따와 지어라 대체레 태워라 나와 가르다고 사고 따고 가는 변하면서 다세 풍부 변심 대와 되면 되신지네 마치 요래 산디 이지 제외 들었다 아니 딱바 따와 다디 디파세라 네 땡서디 최탐제 땡의 중어를 라디네 당아 세야디 풍부단 최신라 땡의 중도시면 땡의 맞추니 이게네 다른 거지 민족 스체디 박해운데 네 딱와 딱딱딱 딱바 따वे 따와디 캡로 열어라 저는 땡세야디 중서디게네 다 덴버투면은 릭지가 매고래라고 그러다 근데 칸을 되면 다 되면은 다 매고래서 칸을 되면 다 공부를 되면 되지 다 되면은 다요 말해서 저는 다 매우 차로 그랬으라면 되면은 다 매우 말해서 다 요래서 다 요버디는 공부를 되네 중된 요긴 다지 요래서 중서디 된 중세 세상 니게네 더 우메람세야 돼 딱과당 딱과다와단 쳐왔다와 니게 탈레 제베 아니 타니던 제베 람 지들 우메람 세고요라 어디다 뒤중하는서 디식시엔베네 야고요라
So here I like to I like to make this observation about Umelam, the path of the middle way, or the view of the middle way. And the view of middle way is a balance. It's a finely balanced view without tilting to either reified state nor neither tilting to annihilated state. So it is a finely balanced, and that balance, the achievement of that fine balance is shown by the word tenjung, arising in a dependent manner, or ten. The Tibetan word ten means a dependent, jung means arise, or arise dependently. So, so the fine balance of the middle way, free from two extremes of reified state and annihilation, is established by the keyword term tenjung. Now, how does it do that? The word ten, the word ten, dependently or dependent, rules out I existing completely independently or without depending on anything else. And so the word dependent rules out the extreme of existing independently or completely non-dependently. And so just as all phenomena exist, or all phenomena exist or arise dependently, I too exist dependently, and existing dependently, arising dependently, cancels, rules out the extreme of permanence or reification or a reified state. And then the second syllable of the word jung, arise, rules out annihilated a state of person, for example, because that there are a lot of schools of thought who utterly believe that I exist. Means non-dependently on anything else. And because they believe so, and when it is pointed to them that their view is fallacious, and then they say, oh, if I doesn't exist non-dependently, then it wouldn't, how could it exist? Then it should not exist at all. To comfort them from the fear of total annihilation, although I doesn't exist non-dependently at all, it still exists. How? It arises. It arises how? Not by itself, dependently. So, in relation to the view of extreme, which has two components, I thought I would add this to the mix so that it gives added significance.
오야 당저 다워 총지 마셔군라 나와 록다디 직시하고 록다 라
Now,
록다디
although the next view, the next cognitive mental affliction is the view of grasping one's view as superior. But before that, I think I should talk about Logda, perverse, or disinformation view, for example. How about that? Anyway, Tibetan words the Logda, distorted view. Long.
다 록다 라야디 아니 디리 된다디 겨왕하지 당 안에 레준데를 써봐다 치다 매바타오 자 말해라 지요 말해 라우자 말해 레준데 요 말해서 겨왕하지 요 말해서 템바시 요 말해서 산제 요 말해서 어디 딘데 라위나 아니 딘데 다와들라 아니 록다스 라위요 레스로
So, Logda, distorted view, doesn't simply mean a view that says something doesn't exist. Rather, it has a very narrow focus of what is viewed as non-existent, and the Logda, distorted, anyway, distorted view or perverse view is the view that there's no reincarnation, there's no karma, there's no there are no such things as four truths, and therefore there's no such thing as somebody becoming Buddha. There are no Buddhas. So to view these sublime topics as non-existent is Logda.
록다디 레이나 여와시시 레그도라 여와시티 마질레티
So there are four types of I think they are quite neat.
gyula kuwa dewe lokda, drebula kuwa dewe lokda, ani chevala kuwa dewe lokda, yuebe ngobola kuwa dewe lokda si, tangbodi gyula kuwa dewe lokda hache, wa? Nibadi drebula kuwa dewe lokda hache, somebody chevala kuwa dewe lokda hache, shibadi yuebe ngobola kuwa dewe lokda hache, wada lokda shidiri shas.
So there are four types of distorted view. Distorted view that undervalues or denies existence of cause. And the second one is distorted view underestimating effects of causes. And the third one is distorted view underestimating Japa means agent, or Japa means agent, Japa. And the fourth one is a distorted view, underestimating underestimating the non-existence of that which exists. Losa.
다담고 귤을 거르버더데 그래서나 다 레게베 규당 레미게베 규세니 요마레스 따라와
No.
데르다.
So the first one is called easy. The distorted view, underestimating cause is to view and to believe there's no virtuous karma. There are no non-virtuous karma. Long.
아 데불 아니 고와데와데 레 게와삭베 데부 요마레스다 데부 뇨야 마 게왈데베 데부 데와데 요마레스 미게월데네세베 데부 둥게 뇨야데 요마레스 어디 믹스에 치다고다 데부 코란 요마레스 딜라딘 조드레도.
So the view of a distorted view, underestimating effect, is to say effects do not exist, particularly the effect of the pleasant effect of a virtues doesn't exist. Unpleasant experience from non-virtues doesn't exist either. So all up, there are no causes and there are no effects.
다스바 제발로 구버데와데 파마다 아니 직대게 네 직겨왕아질라서 왔다 직대나 겨왕아질라서 왔다 요 마레스 파마 요 마레스로 아니 직대가지 직대게다 겨왕아지 직대나라 아니 겨왕아지 직대가지 직대지세니데 다와레스니로 와 근데 다 근데도 유니버시티 다고켈리니 근데도 와도서 자기였다치
The view of distorted view, underestimating agents, is to say, patterns. What you talk about, patterns are not real. Patterns are unreal. They don't exist. World, past life, past world, present world, future world system. There's no such thing. Loss.
다 유외 오불 꾸로 되었어야 돼. 아니 다좀 버터 요 말에 산제 요 말에 람 요 말에 생이도 유외 오불 꾸가 왔어.
So the fourth is distorted view, underestimating, denying or underestimating the existent or that which exists, that which is existent, and that is to say, to believe and to articulate arhats, no arhats, no, there are no Buddhas, there are no paths that lead to arhats and Buddha. So arhats are there, Buddhas are there, paths are there, but to reject them as non-existent. No.
다 록더디기 칠레디 카레라디 록바다베 게자베디 게베 짜오 그러면 소요래도 록더스니 빼면서 도자래. 먼저 콘로이나 게자데 누미 당샤기도 하고 미시 짜오 매우 소면도 와 록더디게 짜오 그러 와레 준데 요 말에 개와 요 말라나 개와 지금 말와 개와가지 요 말라나 개와 지금 말에 레가 지금 말와 다좀 더해 요 말라나 다좀 더해지 타버터에 매우 타버터에 요 말라나 타버터베지 개와 지금 말와 제가 가장 게다 녀와치부 쇼지래로 와디 록다스니데다 하장 게 아니 게자메와 개와 개외게 짜와 록바다베 짜와 쭈서도 이제 러빙이 록데게 게제게 짜와 거라 짜와 매소고요 그래서 님이 가장 첨보래 젤레베 독자래로.
A function of distorted view is the most destructive function. The most destructive function because this Lokta severs the distorted view completely severs roots of virtue from the root. Whereas anger and hatred, strong anger, only minimizes, or means anger makes virtues, or rather, anger robs virtues of a potential or potency, but anger doesn't kind of sever virtues completely. Anyway, in other words, the long and the short of this is between anger and distorted view is far more detrimental, because when you view there's no karma, there's no path, and there's no rebirth. If you believe there's no rebirth, then you will not make any effort to ensure the betterment of your future lifetime. If one doesn't believe in rebirth, and if one doesn't believe in nirvana and Buddhahood, and then no effort will ever be made. And as a result, because it views that which exists as a non-existent, it has a cutting effect on the power of that which exists. And anyway, the Geshe, or the function of Lokta, is the most detrimental, more detrimental than that of anger.
야, 다들 내가 저 따와 총지, 따와 총지 되는데.
So now
지도이나.
the next one, the fourth is Dawa Chokjin. The fourth cognitive mental affliction is the mental affliction viewing one's view or one's philosophy as being superior.
배나 네 된다데다. 따와 총지 된다데 그래라이나. 직다, 타다, 록다, 다 디제게 진데 조제로 디제데 양다 거래, 촉들이 야고래 세제다. 대딩 조들라 따와 총지 세상에 록다라고 해 그래서나 그나 레준데 요 말했으나 아 티페야 그랬어. 겨우가지 요 말했으나 아 티야 그랬어. 람이 잡조진이시도. 다 따와 총지 잡조진이들. 직대게 아니 다소이 어디야 그랬어. 달대다 대 다고다 채웠다 어디야 그랬어. 이제 고배에 잡조진이들 따와 총지에서 그러다.
So Dawa Chokjin, the view that one's view is superior is like the support system to reinforcing the view of transcendental, reinforcing the content of the first three views, the view of a transcendental collection, because the view of a transcendental collection says, I exist non-dependently. And this, and if one believes in that, saying that is the right view, and or the view, the distorted view says, there are no rebirths, there are no karma, and then people really believe. That's great. I think I believe in that. That makes sense. And and then also believing extreme view of reification and annihilation as being correct, and then believe and to consider that these three views are superior views. I subscribe to these strongly, therefore these views are superior to any other views, is the fourth cognitive mental affliction.
그래서 네게 칠레디 그래서나 다고 탁보스고 따로 템보 쉬어져서 다 따왕 연바디 이제 빼그 야구레스 랍데비 인자 아니 디베디베 베 탁보 쉬어지로 미고 탁보드네 나시 도가당 알아서 이슈단데 다다고레스도 레스 다딩 언저 투다 레스 다베 쉬어지 덤부 징기도 하다 네게 빼다 oben man she sang ka she go da be sherab sang ka she go da di be langa sang ka she go da be thakbu shuji so ja go ane le junde yo ma jaw nga ji yo ma no di yo ma re la di da ane da be di mission da jaw nga ji ke sha na da 저런 tuk sa re sin do de 저런 level tuk sha sin de la bi ngo da din de jen da mi tao du ja tao thakbu be me di da di go chele di she gi do
The function of one's believing one's view as superior is to solidify the contents of the first three view, and therefore one becomes totally entrenched in the first three views, and like some people are what blah hard-headed. No, you can't say hard-headed. Anyway, some people, for example, Christian view is that soul exists, and so on. And then if one believes in that strongly, for example, so in other words, if one believes strongly in the content of the first three views, then it makes one narrow-minded, stuck in a groove and a rut of in a myopic rut, and as a result, there's no chance for open-mindedness, and it really blocks broadening of mental horizon and depth and the width of one's perspective. And if one were to say, I believe in rebirth, and the other person suffering from this view of the another person who believes in the superiority of the first three views, then say you have some mental problem because you believe in rebirth. You better go and seek some counseling or something. So it's highly detrimental. Lost.
oh yeah 나도 내가 저 추림다 디슈 존재인인데 봐
The last one is to them the Dushu Chokzin, the superiority, the view that one's ethics and conduct is superior to those of others.
다딜라 추림다 디슈 존재 대전이 레기도 추림 많이 봐라 추림 다와서 추림 체주봉은 추림 다 추림 많이 봐 추림 다스데 배낭은 로아다 데 출룩단 대화 참여를 배나 소제니 초보부야도 다 지부지 약보를 해서 타바다 근데 토베야 군조를 초보부는 소제니 등산다 배유다 야간나다 근데 먹고도 뒤지지라 라다 로다 아니 마예다 차데다 근데 먹고 세제디 디세위나 아니 베다 팀 군조가 군조를 초보부야게 지부지 레스다 권한서 딜람을 써야지 데이터에 수렴 라고로 봐더라 뭐 뒤에서라도 졸라 단다 수렴 도시 초대 수렴 세야돼 수렴 진이상 말에 수렴 많이 얘기 수렴레스 수렴 되고는 수수 송고라 수렴 원에대 수수 송접 진이지 고거라 다 단대에게 송접 지금인도 와네 둔두 망고지 세비나 아니 둔두 파주올 뉴그레 데네네 레미고사네 아니 데브스슬로 미운데 랑란네 신란네 상만란네 외래도 추림세야디 신란 뇌와메베 아니 소에서 버샤고라 세잔디인데 추림세야디 추림 마인벌 추림스다버레스디 추림 뒤슈 천지세야디 추림세야디 아니 어디 고그레스 추림 써야 돼. 단도 추림 많이 벌어 추림 따올라 고그레스다. 코데
Uh,
오샤나.
to make it simple, this has two components: considering one's ethics as superior and one's context as superior. And Chokten means to consider one's ethics as superior is to consider that which is non-ethical to be ethical, and then become become devout practitioner of non-ethical. For example, there are some religious traditions where they offer blood to their gods. For example, if you go to Nepal and India, there are sections where animals such as goat, chicken, buffalo, and so on, and then the blood is offered to what they consider as their god, and blood offering is one of their ethics. It's a practice of their ethics. So now, blood offering is the most is highly harmful, painful to the victims, and to consider this as ethics is wrong, because ethics is the ethics has the connotation of a soothing effect that saves, soothing saving effect, soothing saving effect. And a real ethics, for example, is soothing to the person and to other people, and it saves one from bleak future prospects. Whereas the ethics of blood sacrifice is not soothing, it is painful to the victim immediately, and more painful to the perpetrator of to the perpetrator who carry out blood sacrificial ethics, because they will pay a heavy price in the future. So such an ethics doesn't soothe and save or rescue. Lost kitchen.
아가시에든데도와 룰레야 아니 수수 데 디든데 슈니 때자 슈제 타든데 던디 아니 디보다 그래서 와 어딘데 요라다 추나라 주니 수부드웨나 니 디보다 그래서 다도서 주디 많이 벌어 주dim 다워드레데라
And another example of such wrong ethics, wrong practice is physical mortification, like whipping oneself and then blood dripping, saying that the pain from that purifies. Or they believe that if you dip yourself in holy water, river, the water will purify you of your sins, and so on. From Buddhist perspective, dipping in the river, for example, has no implications on the purification of the mind. Nosla.
다드네 뚜슉 촌지세야디 뚜슉 촌지세야디 첩사고요라 베나 니딘데도와 아니지 tundu 뚜슉세야디 렌데 제버와 tundu 먼저 미신이디 강관이 주는 야루고요라 아니
Nare.
가시에게 로그 렌데 제너와 치기 렌데 제네 둘로 막음바시 돼야로 둘로 막어 치기 렌데 제 강발라고 주제 돼야 되는데 뚜슉촌지 근데 야가나라 열에 어디 간데스 총어래서 와 그래서 간데스 총어라디 그래서 야가도 힌두도 뭐시 누구여라 신의 누구여라 신의 둠니 뭐시 두고다 뭐시 두는데 그런 개왕아마디 통용 거다 뭐시 뚝두는데 그런 개왕아마 통 개왕아마디 가려라디 그런 개왕아마디 키임 버지 키인데 어다 키네 밀을 개월링게 도스 지나가 개왕아마디 그런 개왕아마디 키레샤 땅아다 밀르딜레레스 땅아 개와지마디 양자 밀르딜레 나가 키렌데 치기스다 뒤죽 전세 되다 킬렌데 제네르바 아니 지 강발라고 상마 시제 지도 안 둘러져서 막 하면서 아니 칼라도 좀 잼바쟁냐사르바 잼바자자사 칼라 잼바사 캄바 칼라 전조 마사 어딘데지 저기 된데 따와든데 정도야 근데 뒤식 존재해야 되다 뒤식 써야 그 렌드 제어라 먼저 미 킬렌데 제다 킬렌데 전에 가르서나 개와 지마데 가 밀르된 내가 좀제 가르서나 그러게 경험하면 키임도 통으로 근데 나 키네 밀을 겨울린 것도 당아 저 지금 미 겨울라 나 킬렌데 제거도 어딘데 뒤식 존재해야 돼 근데 열다
So the second part of the last cognitive mental affliction is considering considering some behavior as superior or mimicking supposed superior behavior, such as the behavior of the sheep or the dog, for example. And then, humans are bipeds. They walk upright. Then, so how did this come about? Mimicking some behavior as superior. It came about by way of people developing shamatha and meditative absorption. When they develop on a high level of meditative absorption, and then what happens is people develop extrasensory perception. With the extrasensory perception, they know their past life. And then such a person, they think to themselves, I'm a human now, but my last life I was a dog. So being dog was good for me to be reborn, to be reborn a human. So I need to behave like a dog. On the force, and then they behave like a dog, or they would just completely naked, or they would eat uncooked food. Anyway, misguided by this, they mimic some behavior as being superior, when in reality they are no more superior to any other behavior. Losla.
그래서 먼저 먼저 춘주 간다. 먼저게 볼라 몰라도 이제 그래. 치디 빼면서야 그래. 다고 저와치만 밀리 저링 그랬어. 별로 미겐바도 내 이제 그래. 춘주 간데 이제 봐. 나데 치디 빼야 그랬다. 이제 저와치만 미 저링 그래서 대대 콘즈 암전나 망고 라윈데 이제 열어. 제일 다 빼졌다. 공부를 빼졌다. 아니 디 차단데 자가게 다디 무신신이들 그 경험한테 키임 하고 제네 어다 키네 밀 겨링도 컨저 계절람 줘디 당저 배외게 단대 취에디 이마 자가게 취게 슌선사 나 두저 파 별을 내대도 와 차단 내대도 와 야고도 누가 상마 별을 내대도 와라 진짜 배외 레벨나라 딜루니디 자가게 데저레다 자가로면 저기 계절 줘도 별로 발레대도 와 배우 믿어서 gem바도 다가랑 이제 지기도 하고 친해 저 밀링 그래서네 키디 베미시 야고래서 근데 라그라서다 아디 랩단데 자가게 믿어서 망보지 근데 되버디 되고 요서 데 대한 별로 자 단단 간주 낭배 배우고 쳐야 자가네 파타라 최대 님도 뭐 저에 파 다르대도 님도라 대 계제 시단도 저 다르대도 이건 내가 제일 아 게임쇼서 아 다들 들려주셔서 미치네 밀레 겨울에 미쳐요 뭐라고 치네 링그리 치네 튼두 링그리 치네 거도는 디켜게 뭐라고 담을렌도 그러고 저산디 그 중단으로 어디들이래도
Let me share some anecdotes about dog life as being good for human life. When I was in Tibet, my elders, they shared the view among themselves quite openly. Oh, the dog life is a good life. Although it's a dog now, they will be humans in next lifetime. So some Tibetan people, who are not educated soundly in Buddhism in a critical way, so they believe that a dog life was the next step to being born human. And I didn't know that was possible. When I arrived in India and started studying Buddhism at the monastery, then I came to know of how such a belief system came about, as I've just shared before, through extrasensory perception developed as a result of profound shamatha. So people knew that they had been dog last life, and being dog was a step closer to being born human. So since Buddhism, which is a spiritual system that came to Tibet from India, along with the Buddhism, many other things traveled to Tibet. And such things, such belief systems got stuck in Tibetan mentality.
that is modern series what is it 아니 미기 통마 중국인데 미세하게 비우지네 마충을 라고라 다르와 비우지네 미디 통매 중국인데 비우르지네 비우 믹스해지네 중을 라고도 알아
No.
그래서 다네 비우디 중국인은 단대게 비우드서 다 미마샤고 가려 있는 거 야데 리고 따야도야 대 김지상다 단대 난 얼마게 비우드 저게 미기 칼라스에네 디 김진이 삼다야도 김진 당보대 가려나 음악에 비우드서 미차거나 단대 비우드서 미마차고 가래스로 김진직대로 리버직대로 다데테 말레스 믹스에게 비우지레스 믹스에게 비우드서게네 미게 칼라스에 인자 아니 코타 디 칼라스아야도 교담베 인자 아니 코 수부디다 야야여도제 미차레스다 김제데 라구요라다 딘데이나 단대 미망고지게 비우 칼라스에게도 아 신도 구슈사게도 젤라사게도 두상 비우 칼라스에게냐로 미카셰베 신도 젠냐사제 되니든데도 안 계속 비우 맞춰 가려 있는 바로 미드스 바 비우 차고라 그 비우 칼라스 사대라 그래서 이체 셈도 지리고도 시에도 이체 셈도 아 이제스 게메 비우드 미차라서는 그런지 직시에 되기도 돼 나데 냐마네 나데 계절데 고성아 비우드 미차라서 단다 비우 하시
Apes,
미더워
these are apes, ape.
어
Ape.
앱제
Ape. Not necessarily monkey.
어디 믹스에게 직 둔루지 시에라다 간다
Lare.
아니 디릭디 다 단다 제 토하면 이제 차라
So now
어디
Geshe once wonders Geshe has some misgivings about how apes became humans, and Geshe tomo karere.
아니 디릭디 상고 미차라다
Okay, thank
이
you.
사야 말해
Thank you. Okay, now, if apes evolve into humans, then why haven't all apes? There are still a lot of apes. they are in the jungle. Why haven't they evolved into humans? Or then you go, secondly, if it is argued, or that is because those apes who evolved into humans, they had special diet and eating special diet, then if help them evolve into, then why can't those apes, the current apes, why can't we give the special diet to them and see how they evolve into apes? And or conversely speaking, in a modern health conscious world, people eat lots or tons of vegetable and fruit because it's healthy. And Geshe says bananas, apes, bananas, apples, and so on. They are fruit of monkeys and the apes. And why can't humans who have taken to such lifestyle for a long time, why haven't we seen them changing gradually? Of course, you could say evolution takes millions of years.
밀구라 거래. apes like
the chimpanzee and gorilla.
아니 고릴라도 그래.
Gorillas 다 생겨라.
다오디.
And chimpanzee.
아니 단다데 뮤지엄들에는 고릴라도 되베. 디미차르서 그래. 냐마.
So could the audience educate and tell me, Geshe says, is it said that the apes that we see now, for example, in the jungles as well as in the zoos, chimpanzees and the gorilla, they gradually evolve? Is it said it is they who evolved into humans?
No. What different? This all gone. Do you know?
Well, I did study it once. Maybe Moon might have studied it as well. Did you? Yeah, I mean, there was a Neanderthal man, which wasn't really an ape. He was always more intelligent. Neanderthal.
But before he
no,
became
even before
Neanderthal.
that, I don't think the ape became a Neanderthal man. I don't know that it actually started with like an animal ape.
Okay.
I think that this was more intelligent. It was more intelligent than an ape, but its posture, it was like an ape, and it had a lot of hair on its body. But I think it was a different species. And then that slowly, stood upright and less hair and all that stuff when it moved to different regions. Anyway.
Moon, yeah. We give each person give answer. So now in listening, you can talk. Okay. Now then moon shaking is moon star. Okay.
Because
my response is very similar to what Philippa said, and it's different strands of genetic makeups. So Neanderthals would have a different kind of genetic makeup than modern day lines of the apes and chimpanzees. So only that strand evolved into human beings, while the other strand couldn't. While the difference between the genetic makeup is very less, nonetheless, in terms of evolution, it does give a much more larger effect.
No, Buddha can tell us about the compost. They eat some compost, then changing like that, potato eat something like that, Yeah, not Chandrakirti. Yeah. Do you know some?
Geshe la konti cancel gala.
Da
Philippa
nada
the moon ge.
직시에 인사 아니 님들 nga 줄자 좀
Okay. Then okay.
Yeah.
What's the third one?
Hi. Well, I'm not sure how much I do remember from my studies, but apes and also human. Sorry, but apes and also humans evolved from primates, and it's very similar. I think what exactly like also Moon was saying. In the past, it was more believed that Neanderthals were in the same branch of than Homo sapiens, but recently it's been discovered that Neanderthals were a different path which actually got extinct, and most probably there were primates which were exactly genetically more connected all together, but gorillas and chimpanzees, but also Neanderthals and Homo sapiens then maybe in the past had very similar genetics, because in the origin of the earth, there were just like bacteria, right? Like we heard like very small organisms, so everything evolved from the small organisms in a way. But yes, nowadays gorillas and chimpanzees are definitely different branches than Homo sapiens.
Yeah. And do you have drama?
I just know about this.
Okay.
Yes. She was
Oh yeah, that
saying
is that
about-
가르카르라서 nga yawu homo study. Did you
Yeah.
kina yawu
So Philippa ge Philippa the moon ge and the Tharchin chikura she Philippa and moon they have similar views, and the view is humans evolved.
벽에제는 벽에
I'm sorry.
I think Losang already whole body become English in England, you know. And if
La de Geshe. Konda. So maybe I'm evolving into Neanderthal. The Carson Philippa and moon Kersey and Kishilarva. Any humans mim hachako build on apes that do mim hachako control time never jig control gube any mig rig double jig Neanderthal mid double jig Kishilarva. Any who walked and super puyu and the jig did goods and talking to others. Dinzu any that dinzu dan any human barrel me barrel and genetic makeup the taudu or genes and the gene the double show is there's a terrible say and two dan ape dan gorilla
member
and the Neanderthals and constantly guna lotta George say mabu chisebe me mainge tu mainge tini parol chik tu kugu chan tugun jores and di and jelme chabres
ane
and shina aja and ta shina de karsona and apes tan kazata the two regional kasarada apes tan tunzo 상마 primates 지기 during 리서라 during 미 미당 아니 지기 apes 당 chimpanzee 당 고릴라 등도 상마 아니 가서를 들여서 primates during 리서라 아니 이나요 아니 코조 아니 미당 밀 디스올 호모 세피엔스 기실라 인지겔라 밀러가 호모 세피엔 Homo sapien, HOMOSAPIE and or something like that. Homo sapien. Till miss war. Just Homo sapien give any Neanderthal and to Philippa the moon loves on Kishila. To go watch and talking to the Kanche Zambulinki tended to sort of Manguchi in the early part of the world, and it from small organism and Zambulinki to sort of chung chung ne, and a chir and the Rick Damar Pai Gabres. The Kanche.
There are a lot of disagreements about
Oh yeah, that did Taduna Savage that do.
Thank you for your for sharing your views, but I'm still having difficulty to point my finger clearly to a definite.
That is shower to just somewhere.
Okay, with this we'll stop here tonight.
Yeah.
Ta kishilo tunda chima kare koyna.
Hiya, the Salam Nala Dora.
No, so
That's the Salam Nala Dora. Tomba Jada Jungi, Gomban, anything there. Is it? That Holamne, Golamne, Milana, that's Anje Jureda.
Yes. If you wondered why Kishila is laughing, I asked, so what is the topic for next week? Then Geshe says we're going back to Tongbang and Gombang, part of seeing and part of meditation. And remember, Tongbang means seeing elimination. That means afflictions eliminated on seeing. And Gombang means afflictions eliminated on part of meditation. And Geshe says we will go back to seeing elimination, meditation elimination, then through the Bodhisattva grounds, and we will go to Buddhahood next week.
Moon, do you have a question? Moon, to you. Yeah, I have some minute.
Hello. So my question is distorted view same as the wrong view in the Tibetan term, or is it a different Tibetan term for the wrong view?
I think, yeah. Kishila, this is the Rawa. And Longtas in Jorawa. Longtas in the any Injikela that didn't get you Losang. Didn't get you Losang and the Loctala distorted views to Rawa. And the chicken, get you Shendaji and the wrong views. Just the wrong view down distorted view. Don't that chip with the best on do.
That did Losang like Losang gas near him.
So yeah, some people say wrong view, and some people say lock means in which case all the views are wrong views. You know. Anyway, so lock. For example, lock means when somebody wears a sweater inside out, back to front. For example, when somebody wears their shirt, okay, inside out or back to front, so that's completely opposite to reality. So that's called, the Tibetan word is lokda, and so do other people have a better view? Sorry, better word.
You have a question? Yeah.
I will look for more. I will look for more terms and see what other no,
Using
what
also.
other superior translators use the word?
Yeah, and another question, yes.
Yes,
Say.
I would like to ask if so maybe it's somehow connected, maybe it's about translation, but if wrong views are a kind of like superior term to extreme and distorted views, that's one part.
Mhm.
And then you talked about a function of, and now I'm not sure, extreme or distorted views.
Mhm.
And if you could a bit summarize it for me, as again, I did not understand that part very well.
그실라 단데티 다 그런 단데티 인지kel 단데티 다 베주 땅다죠라 로탈라와 안에들 엑세 카소르 wrong views distorted views 네 탄예 신달의 야그르베 가르레 송도라와 아니 게 단데 쉬인데 계주 신다죠 그 탄예 근르 베주 땅도 네 셔터제는 선이 제마 쉬 초그제 있으마. And then the next question is, Kishila, Chile or what?
Chile
Lokte Chile tang Tarte Chile. Dini Chile ki Kabar di Yangyo Nindu Solo Nansono.
Lokda ki Chile digi ni gewe zawa cheru warwa, gewe zawa mevsiru yorwa, geza mevsiru, geza yangya che mev, lende yo marila sana, lende sungu marwa ko, di dhruwa, gewa yo marila na, gewa chigi marwa warwa. Cheza ni digba yo marila na, digba la zingi marwa, cheza di nyanga chambudwa. Ta tharda ki, tharda rwa, tharda ki ni jigde sume ta di ni 학고 딱바다 그거 간산데 미다고 선자 때 딱바레스 네 간산 딱바레스 다연데 딱바다서 와 때때세 군이 네가 지중으로 했잖아 다달래 록다 하장이 네가 차요 와 록다디 네가 첨부 베베데 그저 레레 베누가 차요 다가다
So, Longta, okay. I'm going to. Kishila says, the function of a Lokta or wrong or distorted view that is the most destructive and most detrimental because it has a sweeping effect on root of virtues or virtues. How? Because wrong view believes in non-existence of things that actually do exist and have definite impact. And wrong view says there are there's no karma. And if you believe there's no karma, then you'll become reckless. And you will become reckless in doing non-virtues, and you will be hesitant. You will be reticent in doing virtues because you think virtues have no effect, and therefore the virtues are not performed, no merits, new merits are gathered, all so and then when you believe in anyway the karma doesn't okay when you believe that karma doesn't exist, law of cause and effect doesn't exist, as I've just mentioned before, you become reckless. So in other words, you become reckless in doing non-virtues and in not doing any new virtues. Therefore, it has sweeping, severing effect on virtues. And between extreme view and wrong or distorted view, the effect, rather, the wrong view is much more detrimental in terms of completely cutting off or severing roots of virtue. Does that answer the question?
Yeah. Yeah. That is Shangra.
Losang.
Engaging to make tail like Nam Dakshing La Chopa Jetsun Lama Kunzi Rab Jing Nam Katrin Nature Cure Gyapadang Losang Tempe Drome Sasungi Joy Mun Sao Tak Tu Ni Gushi Iram Guru Ranamanda Kamprayatayam. Due to the merit of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of a Guru Buddha and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the supreme jewel bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish, but increase more and more. Whatever slight positive potential I may have created, by paying homage, offering, and acknowledging my faults, rejoicing and requesting that the Buddhas stay and teach, I now dedicate all this to full awakening. I dedicate all these roots of virtue with the dedication praised as the best by the victorious ones of God 3 times, that I might perform the noble bodhisattva's deeds. May the King of Dharma, Tsongkhapa's way of Dharma, practice and flourish. May the omens of obstacles be pacified and all conducive circumstances be complete. The wish granting, wish fulfilling jewel, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world, to the incomparably kind Tenzin Gyatso I beseech. May all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. Savior of the snowland teachings and transmigratory beings, who makes extremely clear the path that is the unification of emptiness and compassion. To the lotus holder Tenzin Gyatso I beseech. May all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. You who uphold the subduer's moral way, preserve as the bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading Mujina's victorious doctrine, who mustfully accomplish magnificent prayers honoring the 3 jewels. Savior of myself and others, your disciples, please swiftly return. By relying on the 2 accumulations of myself and others in the 3 times, may the teachings of the conqueror, Losang Drogpa, blaze for a long time. And the swift return prayer for Rinpoche. Peerless teacher, assembly of the children of the victorious ones, Shravakas and Pratika Buddhas, victorious Losang father and sons, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of infinite lands, please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now. Holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings, through explanation and practice, you wore the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable venerable Guru, to you I make requests. While striving single-pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teachings, the sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge, and for all mother living beings, you suddenly departed to peace. What a great loss. Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the ocean of the 3 jewels and the great waves of bodhicitta of the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of a reincarnation swiftly beam in glory for fortunate disciples. Thank you, Losang.
Can I say please? I
Yes.
just found a dictionary, and this dictionary says Lokshe means distorted cognition or wrong perception. And then it says Pancha blah blah 5 wrong views. Okay, 4 wrong views are view of transitive collection, view of adhering to an extreme view. Okay, extreme view. So anyway, Lokta means wrong view. This translator uses the word wrong view, and but on the other page with the word Lokshe. Lok means Lokshe means distorted cognition or distorted awareness or perception. So distorted and wrong have been used somewhat synonymously. So
로상라
la
그게라 록시나 록다니 로가르다
long
록시스나 먼저 가리 공부 다와니 다와 저도 록시로
long
단더디 록다세디 록시레 누구요다 레준데 요 말했어
long
영아지 요 말했어야 그래서 지난 록시 기타에 따와디 록시로다 차가도 록시레 장 년가 차요 록다스 따와서야다 록시서야돼 This is yours, Yorda, Kodan Logayor.
So Geshe says Lokshe, distorted cognition, awareness, and distorted view. Geshe says are quite different. Distorted cognition or wrong perception could be seeing the white snow mountain as blue, or blue, and so on. So it's a mistaken. It says an awareness that apprehends its object of cognition incorrectly. Visual perception cognizing a white snow mountain as a yellow, for example. So that is distorted cognition or wrong perception. But the word lokta, distorted view or the wrong view, is much more detrimental, dangerous, much more dangerous, harmful, and therefore the Tibetan word is lokta, Logta, lokta. And what can I say, Kishila, apart from that?
The Logda Koran Shash, that Logda Koran, Logda is.
Okay, I'll look for more sources and report back to you. Thank you.
Okay. Good night.
That's Kishila.
Good night.